I want to talk about voice stuff. Because like I said, I think it's interesting. So I kind of have like I have two voices, right? I have I have passive voice and I have active voice, right? Sorry, my throat is still chronic cough from COVID over a month now. Anyway, so passive voice is what I talk like on stream, okay? Passive voice is what I talk like on stream. Passive voice is what I talk like when I'm sitting with my parents. It's what I talk like when I'm sitting, maybe not with my parents. It's what I talk like when I'm sitting with, like on stream, it's what I talk like when I'm sitting with my IRL friends, okay? When I'm just sitting with people that I'm comfortable with, being trans around and stuff, it's what I talk like, okay? I just talk like this. The other voice that I have is active voice, okay? And that is, before I speak, I think. Prior to speaking, I think about about how I'm going to speak. And I think and I say, okay, well, before I speak, I should get my resonance higher, right? I should get my resonance higher. I should get my resonance higher. I should get my resonance higher before I speak. Before I speak, I should get my resonance higher. And I think before I talk, right? And if I think before I say every sentence, even if I change nothing else about how I'm talking and I still talk in my passive voice, and I do this resonance thing, and I do my resonance before I speak every single time, and I don't think about what I'm saying other than resonance, I'll still get a better voice. Better voice, of course, meaning like my voice, my resonance will be better, right? So I can do that. I can practice my resonance. Also, active is such a pain, but it sounds better. Yeah, it does sound better. I think it sounds a lot better. I think it sounds significantly better. However, the problem with it is it requires concentration to maintain. You're talking about mine mostly because you can't speak for others? Yeah. But oh, that's true. But you can definitely tell you're moving my voice to my mouth instead of throat. Interesting. So, yeah. It tells you how to train for anything. Well, it's not that I don't know how to train. It's not an issue of not knowing how to train. I know what to do, right? The challenge comes from transforming your active voice into, or having your passive voice align. Having your passive voice align with your active voice. This is the greatest challenge, right? Because the biggest challenge is that because it's the biggest challenge because it's the biggest challenge because the reality is, for every single human being out there, we change our voices depending on social circumstances constantly. We constantly change our voices. When you go into customer service and you speak to customers, we raise our voices. Just happens. You raise your voice. When around women's voices tend to get lower. When around men, just when speaking to women, typically speaking, people's voices get lower. no matter who it is. So when women talk to other women, typically speaking, they speak lower when they talk to their friends and stuff. When speaking to men, typically speaking, men like to lower their voice as well with speaking to other men, and they lower their voice when speaking to women, and women will raise their voice. It's like this is all. Anyway. All I'm trying to say is like you change your voice a lot when you speak to someone like you're attracted to. If you're typically speaking, if you're like femme and you're speaking to someone that you're attracted to who is more masculine than you raise your voice. And typically, if you're masculine and you're speaking to someone femme, you lower your voice. And typically, if you're, anyway. But we do this all the time, right? We literally switch our voices, and they're not active decisions in those instances either. Those are still passive voice. Yeah, baby talk. Baby talk is not like, you don't have to think about how you speak before you do baby talk. You just do it. That's just what you say to the animals. That is your voice. That is your passive voice for your pets. That is your passive voice. So with voice, how do we transform our active effort voice into passive voice, given the situation that is that our passive voice is going to have to change repeatedly in different social circumstances. So even if I learn to speak like this, and even if I make this my default speaking voice, and I speak like this all the time, and this is my usual voice when I'm on stream, and this is how I talk on stream, it is entirely possible that I speak like this on stream 24/7, and once I end my stream, and I finish streaming, and I've got this done passively, and it's not an active challenge whatsoever, and I go speak to my friends in real life, and I start talking like this, because this is my this is the voice I use with them. And it's not, and I can have both voices exist passively, simultaneously, but I can have them both exist passively, simultaneously, but I have to do a whole new challenge now of every time I speak, every time I speak to my friends, I have to relearn to do this voice. And this happens, I mean, we know this happens if you have an accent, okay? Or if English isn't your first language. You may speak without an accent, like very clearly. You may speak very clear without an accent and stuff. However, once I go back home to visit my parents or back to Northern Ireland when I went on a trip there last time, I remember when I lived in Canada thinking that I had lost, I was like, I don't think I have a strong accent. I think I've kind of lost, people tell me all the time, I lost my accent. I went back to Northern Ireland for like one week or something, or 10 days. And instantly, like, not only did I have like more, like my accent returning, I was literally back to just talking like I was born in Ireland again. There was no, it just all came immediately back, completely back. When I go speak with my parents, my voice, my accent comes out more. When I forget to think about my voice whatsoever, you can tell, right? When I get like drunk or something, or when I'm losing my mind, or when I'm really passionate, my accent starts getting really fucking thick. Like, my accent starts getting really fucking thick. It gets much thicker than it used to be. Like, it gets way fucking thicker and stuff. And that just happens. It's just what happens. It gets way thicker. So that's the challenge with kind of voice training. Yeah, the Boston comes out. Exactly. Yeah. Is this good posture? Can I just sit like this with my cat socks? So that's kind of the so that's the two issues that we basically have going on simultaneously. I can work really hard on my active voice, and in fact, I should be working harder on my active voice. I should be actively practicing my femme voice, even if I don't feel like I'm going to use it in every scenario. I should still hone it to be as good as I can make it realistically, or as good as I want to make it realistically, in the situations where it matters. Because it doesn't feel good to like get misgendered by your voice. It doesn't feel good if someone comes into the stream and says like, you look like a woman but you sound like a man. I've got that before. Or it doesn't feel good when also hello Luna, by the way. Yeah, it doesn't feel good when I was playing Overwatch like last week, and I was talking in voice, like in team chat and stuff, and twice over the course of a couple hours someone was like, is that a guy? Like, are you a guy? That doesn't feel good, you know? Hello. So I should work on this voice more. The problem is I have to be, the only way to make it become passive is to just practice more. Like I have to keep at it and keep practicing it. I have to keep at it, I have to keep practicing it. But I have to keep practicing it, but the challenge comes from practicing it in what I will call someone falling down the stairs in your building. I can hear it through the headset, but very lightly, very gently, because I have the background music. How would something like VFS help with the voice? So my understanding is, I think there's multiple methods to VFS, but I think there's one specifically that changes the shape of your vocal cords, I think, or your vocal tract. I don't know exactly. Maybe we should look into it. Maybe. There's I think that I heard of one in South Korea. Yeah, fan vocal cords are also thinner. That is true. I think there was one I remember in I just heard about this some Korean one, but I believe what they we can read it here. And this might be the one, but I don't want to show them if it's the wrong place I'm thinking of. But there's a lot of voice feminization surgeries that don't do anything to actually feminize your voice, if that makes sense. They're not actually like they're feminizing your voice, but they're not doing the correct thing to feminize your voice, I guess. They're not a scam. Like the one I remember seeing was there was a vocal. Oh, so have a good night, Kaze. Yes, I remember seeing one that was I remember seeing one that was basically it would raise your pitch. It was like a pitch surgery, so it would give you a higher pitch. But the problem is a higher pitch without actually working on your resonance is just gonna lead you to sound like this, which is not really what you want to sound like. This is a high pitch, but it doesn't help with it's not going to sound like a woman, even if you have a high pitch. So there's a lot of forms of voice feminization surgery that don't actually, you get them and you still basically just have to voice train anyway. Like, just, you know what I mean? You have to voice train anyway. So it's like, why go through the surgery if you're just gonna have to do the voice training regardless, right? But I think the South Korean one is basically a surgery to affect your resonance, you know. So it's to change the size of your vocal tract, essentially. So I think that one would essentially permanently feminize your voice. It's like a frequency booster, but then all the techniques you're starting to master. Yeah, exactly. Which is like, well, that's, you know. So the VFS one seems like the VFS that shortens your larynx is I believe the one that actually would give you like a resonance that you wouldn't be able to turn it off, essentially. It'd be like a net positive. You'd still, like, well, hopefully, assuming everything goes well, no complications. Net positive, you don't have to turn off your voice. It's just, you know, you just speak and you can't go back. You know what I mean? You can't accidentally slip into guy voice or something, or your voice can't accidentally drop. It's just not possible for it to happen.